is NBA free agent season. All the craziness will begin over the weekend. Teams are now negotiating with the various free agents. To get the latest, let's welcome in Sam Amico from AmicoHoops.net. And you got to hit refresh on AmicoHoops.net repeatedly now because you want to get the latest news. Sam, we appreciate the time. Let's start with some Cavs stuff. First of all, J.R. Smith's contract status. Explain to us, Sunday's the deadline when they have to decide whether they extend it or whether they cut him. What goes into that decision from the Cavs' perspective?
First of all, they want to see if they can get something feasible in return for him. Obviously, you'd have to take on some money if you're the Cavaliers and you trade J.R. Smith, which they are willing to do wisely, but they also need to determine, they would do that, by the way. They would take on more money if they get a nice asset in return. Now, if you can't get a nice asset in return, then you obviously cut JR before Sunday. You eat what is guaranteed, as you see there. What's guaranteed is $3.8 million. You're just going to have to live with that because that beats $15.6 million. So they're going to try to trade him probably right up until the very last minute. And if they can't do that, he will be waived. I suspect, and I think that the Cavaliers suspect, that they will end up waiving him. But there are a lot of teams looking to clear cap space, and JR's contract is valuable in that situation. Portland, Oklahoma City, Houston, who's chasing Jimmy Butler in free agency, they could all use that contract to waive J.R. Smith, but the Cavs have to agree to a deal for that to happen.
What about free agents for the Cavs? Are they looking at any? Is it likely that the Cavs potentially sign any free agents, or what's your sense that you're getting with the Cavs and free agency?
Well, it's very unlikely that they're going to sign anybody of note. They could potentially sign some undrafted rookies. They just don't have the room under the salary cap to really bring in anybody that's really going to be anything more than a surprise contributor. You're not going to get a guy who is, well, he's going to help right away. You may get some guys who are more or less, well, maybe they'll help. So, and that even goes if they do trade JR's contract, because they are still going to be paying luxury tax and be over the salary cap. So that's a tough situation in free agency. But they will certainly try to bring in those type of guys that can audition for a role and for a contract, whether it's summer league, training camp, before training camp. They will definitely be a third or fourth tier free agent type of player. But if the Cavs are going to make some roster moves, they're going to have to do it with, obviously, the draft, which they did, bringing in 3 new guys, as well as trades. Those are really their 2 options. Free agents, it's going to be a tough road to hoe because they just don't have the money and they don't have the winning record.
When you look at Kevin Love, is that a guy that do you still think he'll be here, or is that somebody that they could eventually look to move, or would they have to be overwhelmed to trade Kevin Love at this point?
Right now, they'd have to be overwhelmed, and they're not going to get that offer, I wouldn't think, simply because Kevin hasn't been able to stay on the court. He wasn't able to stay on the court last year, so teams aren't going to go all in and trade for him. You obviously know New Orleans with David Griffin, the GM there, loves Kevin Love, would love to get him, but it's just too hard. For the Cavs, they're not going to just give him away because he can be a vital piece in terms of helping the younger players develop. So as long as there's a trade deadline or it's trade season, we're going to hear Kevin Love's name come up. However, it's going to be tough to move him right now. I think that potentially before the trade deadline, after the season starts, and if he proves that he can stay out on the floor and be effective, contenders will go after him and give the Cavs the type of pieces they may want, but it's just not going to happen this summer.
Let's shift the focus and talk a little bit about the Lakers. They've cleared some cap space. LeBron and AD now have another max contract. Who are guys that they're looking at, and who's realistic to potentially go out and join the new super team, the Lakers?
Well, first of all, they are going to shoot for the moon. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, Kyrie-Irving, Jimmy Butler, Those are guys on their list. The only real big name that they know they don't really have a shot at is Kevin Durant. So they're going to go after the rest of them, and the rest of them are going to probably listen and consider, because you do have LeBron, you do have Anthony Davis, you do have Hollywood behind you, which is probably a bigger deal than anything else. There are some free agents. I think guys are going to listen, but free agents today know if you go out there, you're playing second or third fiddle to LeBron and LeBron who's going to be 35 in December, and you're going to play probably third fiddle maybe to Anthony Davis. So it's got to be a guy with the right mindset, to go out there and be one of those big three, but you're going to be C no matter how good you are. Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie-Irving, whoever is going to be number three, because they aren't going to live up to the star power of the clutch clients, which is, of course, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So, I would be shocked if Kawhi Leonard went there. I would be pretty surprised if Kyrie-Irving went there, only because those guys are kind of march to their own drum. And you can't do that under LeBron's shadow. You just can't. And I would be surprised to see either of those two guys go there. I'd be surprised to see Klay Thompson go anywhere but Golden State. So really that kind of would leave to me the Lakers to choose between guys like D'Angelo Russell, maybe Jimmy Butler, maybe those second tier guys that are right there, but not quite these, would form a superpower.
Let's shift gears a little bit more. Kyrie-Irving, Kemba-Walker, where do you think those two end up? And if Kemba-Walker, in fact, ends up at the Celtics, does he make him maybe even a little bit better is that a better fit than Kyrie-Irving?
Well, I think Kemba's not as talented as Kyrie. Kemba's very talented, but he's not as good of an individual player as Kyrie. But there's a lot less stuff surrounding Kemba-Walker. He's all basketball. He is a good teammate. He's loved by his teammates, and he's loved by his coaches. He's a great leader, and I don't know that all that applies to Kyrie-Irving. I think that we've seen situations and heard about situations where Kyrie-Irving is not beloved by his teammates. He's can be difficult to coach. So if that's the situation, I think everybody thinks Kyrie-Irving's going to the Brooklyn Nets, so, I mean, it just sounds that that's the way. And if that's the way it's going to happen, then, the Celtics may take a step up, frankly, with a guy like Kemba-Walker. Heck, 2 years ago, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals with Terry Rozier at point guard. And Terry's a nice player, don't get me wrong, but it's really about who's willing to play in the system. And, there's a lot of talent there and a lot of depth. Even if they lose Al Horford, he's replaceable. So I think the Celtics might be happy if they end up with Kemba instead of Kyrie.
Sam Amico from AmicoHoops.net joining us. Last thing I'll ask you, Kevin Durant, where do you think he ends up? What have you heard about Durant?
I just actually posted something on the website a couple hours ago about Kevin Durant, and the situation is it does seem like it's down to 4 teams. The word is with him, unlike Kawhi Leonard, the word around the league with Kawhi Leonard is he already knows where he's signing. He's just meeting with these teams, and no one else knows, but the word is Kawhi Leonard knows. With Kevin Durant, it's supposed to be different. Around the league, the word is that he doesn't yet know where he's going. He has not made a firm decision. He may be leaning one way, but his situation's very unique because the first year of this contract, you're paying him to rehab an injury. He will not play next year unless it's an outright miracle. And then he's going to come back at 31 years old off Achilles surgery without having played for a year. There's a lot of variables involved with Kevin Durant. Now, that said, the New York Knicks, Brooklyn Nets, Golden State Warriors, and Los Angeles Clippers are all prepared to offer him a maximum contract and take that risk with him. He is a risk now simply because of that injury, and it's very rare for guys to come back as good as they were before. Most guys don't even come back close to as good as they were before, especially on the other side of 30. So that's a very unique situation to watch, but what we're hearing about him is, really, I've heard that it's between the Nets and the Warriors. But the Knicks really seem to think they have a realistic shot, and everybody's saying don't rule out the Clippers here either. If the Clippers can get Durant and Butler, well, then maybe they'll do that. But it's a very interesting, intriguing year for free agency because there are so many potential moving parts that can alter the course of your franchise. Before, it's like LeBron James and nobody. Now it's like 5, 6, 7 guys that could go somewhere new and completely change the course of not only that particular franchise, but the entire league and how teams are viewed as favorites and whatnot.
Sam Amico, we appreciate the time. Sam Amico from amicohoops.net. We want you to go out and check out amicohoops.net. Updated constantly for your latest NBA news. Important to this time of year, Sam and his crew will have updates on the latest free agents. Where are people going? What is the talk around the NBA? Sam and amicohoops.net will have that as it happens. So keep hitting refresh all weekend long as